There are plenty of animated movies about cute and cuddly animals. But what about the not-so-cute and cuddly ones?
Sting, sting, ouch, ouch.
Netflix's latest animated movie, Back to the Outback, focuses on a group of animals at the zoo who don't get the love that they deserve, and who make it their mission to return home to the wild. But in a world full of animals who range from cute to creepy, how do they stack up on the morality spectrum? I'm Kyle with WickedBinge, and this is Back to the Outback characters good to evil. As usual, we'll be starting with the most pure and noble character and working our way down to the most evil. These characters are the good. Our gold medal for most good character goes to Jackie, the motherly saltwater crocodile who we're introduced to at the beginning of the film. Right away, we can tell that she is a wonderfully wholesome character and acts as the motherly figure to the other reptiles who desperately need some positivity in their life. She's reassuring to Maddie when she's made to feel like a monster, and gets everyone to feel hopeful and even optimistic despite their circumstances.
You can be whoever you want.
It's actually very sad when she's taken away, especially when her intent was to help Chazzy when he fell into the enclosure, not hurt him. And let's not forget that she's in charge of the organization that helps the quote-unquote ugly animals. If there's anyone with a totally pure heart in this movie, it's Jackie. We're giving the silver medal of good to Maddie. Maddie is idealistic despite the fact that the human world is against her. She's able to rally everyone behind her and act as the leader to get them back to the Outback.
Tonight, we're going back to the Outback.
She's also bubbly and positive, even when dealing with Pretty Boy, who is an absolute nightmare for most of the movie. And at the very end, she even saves Chazzy's life, despite the fact that his dad has been hunting her and her friends down the entire time. Maddie is no monster, and as her friends say in the end, she was beautiful the whole time. We're giving the bronze medal of good to the little girl. She was part of a particularly heartwarming moment that was nice to see because it showed that not all humans are jerks. She saved Maddie and her friends by hiding them from Chaz, and the two had a quick bonding moment showing off each other's fangs, or braces.
Deadly? Thanks. You're pretty deadly too.
Next we have Jacinta, the shark, the first creature who helps our group escape to the Outback. She is very nice and provides quite the aid to Maddie and friends, transporting them across the water. She did allude to eating a lot of humans, but let's just assume that she was joking, right? We're gonna rank Nigel next. He seems to be a bit more cowardly at times, but he reveals himself to be brave when needed. He's also very nice and complimentary, and always supportive when needed.
It's not Frank's fault that it's mating season and he can't get a date.
Whether it's moral support for Maddie, or a swift sting to knock Pretty Boy out cold in order to shut him up.
I killed Pretty Boy, I've murdered a celebrity.
Zoe is also a good friend. She's definitely a little more aggressive, and quick-witted with throwing shade or insults from time to time. But she's just as supportive of a friend as Nigel. She also reveals herself to be quite crafty, when she very easily escapes from her entrapment and frees her friends. Frank is the third of Maddie's friend trio, if we're not including the koala. He's a very nice spider, although quite the quirky one. He certainly lets his hormones get in the way sometimes, but we can't hold the guy's biology against him. The worst thing we can say about Frank is that he has a habit of saying the wrong thing, even when he's trying his best to make someone feel better, like when he keeps reminding Maddie of how deadly she is.
You can
Kill 100 people in 10 seconds.
Moving on to the Tasmanian Devils. These guys came out of nowhere and really assisted when needed. If it wasn't for them, Maddie, Nigel, Frank, and Zoe would have been in big trouble with Chaz. We'll also give a quick mention to Doug and Doreen. They might be disgusting, but we can't help but appreciate their positivity. It was nice to see them show up in the end with a happy family. And finally, we'll round out our good category with Legs the spider, another one of the many helpful animals who was a part of the ugly secret society. She helps Mandy and friends through the sewers. And the only reason that we rank her this low is that she said she ate her husband's head.
What are you doing later?
Eating my husband.
And after that?
and also threatened to kill Pretty Boy. But let's just assume that she was joking, right? And with the good characters out of the way, we now move into neutral territory. This is the gray area. Now, hear us out, but we're placing Chazzy in the gray area. Yes, he takes many of his dad's bad habits. He's annoying and obsessed with hunting down the fleeing animals for most of the movie. And he's even shown to treat the animals in the zoo poorly, like when he's shown angrily beating on the glass. But Chazzy does genuinely have a change of heart, and as soon as he sees that Maddie is scared, we can see that he truly does have empathy. It's pretty obvious that his poor behavior rubbed off on him from his father, and it is nice that we actually get to see him overcome it towards the end of the movie. After much thought, we've decided to also place Pretty Boy in the gray section as well. Now, one could argue that he deserves a spot at the end of the good section, but we don't think that he quite made it. Let's start with his personality from the start.
Are we waiting for the valet?
No, a flush.
He is pretty insufferable, to the point where he's actually the only character who is really annoying to the audience every time that he's on screen. He's mean-spirited and totally narcissistic. He talks down to the reptiles as if they don't have any feelings, asking how anyone could ever love them.
No one is ever going to love you.
And that is really cold. Eventually, he seems to warm up a bit, but all of the good deeds that he decides to do are only after the alternative option is spent for him. For example, he only chooses to call for help to stop Maddie from being subdued by Chaz after Chaz throws him aside and says he doesn't want him back at the park. Prior to this, he seemed more than willing to just abandon the group and go back to his home. Then he abandons Maddie and her friends to go to his fellow koalas without a second thought, or even any sort of substantial goodbye. And he only comes back to Maddie once he realizes how insufferable other koalas are.
Be honest, do you think koalas can be a little bit shallow?
He ends up doing good in the end, but his awful personality is hard to overlook. Finally, we reach the villains. Or I should say villain. There's only one truly evil character in this movie, and that gold medal of evil goes to Chaz. Now, Chaz appears to kind of redeem himself in the end, at least on a surface level, but the reality is, Chaz is a bad person. Chaz's son is young enough where we understand why he acts the way that he does. Chaz himself is actually incredibly cruel. Now, we can't hold what he says to Maddie against him. Obviously, he doesn't know she can understand him. But the way that he treats her and other animals is just awful. He throws Maddie into the box without any care, and he truly treats the reptiles as if they are monsters without feelings. For a zookeeper, he truly lacks empathy for the creatures that he's in charge of taking care of. And eventually, once he's gotten the better of, he reveals himself to be quite sadistic, throwing Pretty Boy out the bus window, and also booting him aside as if he's replaceable as well. On top of this, he's clearly very narcissistic, to the point where he's reading stories to his son that are totally about himself. And those stories are straight up lies.
How I fought a giant python and lost your mother.
He's an insecure, narcissistic liar and very, very cruel. All he really cares about is his image. Sure, his son too, but he doesn't seem to mind being cruel to anyone else. Even in the end, it's nice to see him come around. And we'll admit, there looks to be potential for him to evolve into a better person, but he only changes his ways when he sees the creatures that he's hunted save his son. Hopefully, Chaz learned his lesson, and maybe he'll have a redemption arc if there's a sequel. But let us know in the comments section what you thought of Back to the Outback. Who was your favorite character? Make sure to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist. But most importantly, stay wicked.